All right, so we're going to be talking about pay-per-lead versus working with an agency for your construction business, your remodeling business, your roofing business, contracting, just in general being a contractor, and why maybe, like, which one of these may be the better option for you. And of course, we are an agency, stoymedia.com. Feel free to visit, but I'm going to be as honest and truthful as I possibly can to sort of which one would work better for you. And of course, if it sounds like I'm really trying to sell the agency, go ahead and click off. But I'm going to try and be as transparent to you as possible. And honestly, we'll just go off and just immediately talk about pros versus cons. And we'll talk, why is pay-per-lead better and why is working with an agency better? We'll talk about pros first. And by pay-per-lead, we're talking about Thumbtack, Angi, Home Advisor, Yelp, maybe even an agency that's doing $150 an appointment, or what is it, like $100 an appointment, something like that, where, here we'll do app. That also includes in this pay-per-lead. And for agencies, we're talking about, of course, stoymedia.com, that are running ads on Facebook, Google, local service ads, things of that nature. That's what we're talking about for an agency. But first, we'll talk about why is it better to do pay-per-lead. First of all, it's more cost effective. And that's actually why in our final conclusion, we'll actually talk about why, like which one would be better for you depending on how much you're spending on marketing. But first, pro is just cost effective. I mean, you get to decide who to work with. Of course, you can pick the cheapest leads, but as a contractor, would you recommend the cheapest bid to the homeowner? No, because you know that the cheapest bid is just a contractor trying to quickly get just someone to do it and just take their money and kind of give them crap stuff. And so, sure, it's cost effective. Yeah, it's cost effective. Of course, you can get $150 an appointment with certain agencies. But two, it's also more flexible. So you can decide that next week you want 50 leads. Of course, they have to fulfill that and they may not come in 1 week, but I want 50 leads next week, next month, and they'll be delivered to you. You'll pay your amount and you just get to decide, do I want 100 leads next month or do I want 10? Like, stop giving me leads, give me a little bit and let me just test. And so it's a lot more flexible, as in how many can you get. But another pro is just some people may prefer using Yelp, using Angi, using Thumbtack. So maybe it's platform preferred, or it's preferred platform. We'll just use platform preferred. And excuse my bad handwriting. I just want to make this as concise for you so you can sort of grasp which one would be better for you. Of course, you got to really think about this one, as in how much are you spending? Does it make sense? And we'll actually do a cost breakdown at the end of why working with an agency it may actually be cheaper per appointment than kind of these pay-per-lead or pay-per-appointment types of things. But we'll talk about pros. We just did 3 pros for pay-per-lead. We'll do 3 pros for agency. And first of all, if you are running leads or ads on Facebook and Google, you're building a brand. Now, of course, we'll put this down first. So if you want to be like Power Home Remodeling, Apple Roofing, people like that, like if you want to be those big brands that people just know as soon as they call, or they're known amongst the industry, you have to build a brand. Everyone talks about this. Brand, content, things of that nature. If you want to build a brand, you have to be where everyone is. If you're running Facebook ads or Google ads, you're showing up where everyone is. And we'll actually talk about why kind of pay-per-lead is kind of limiting your reach. But you just try and think of like 5 people who don't have Facebook. Now think of 5 more who don't have Google. I mean, everyone has Google. As soon as you open up anything, you got Google there. And so Google is basically everywhere. And most people are searching on it. Of course, you can be on ChatGPT, but what 60-year-old in their house is looking up what's the best contractor on ChatGPT? Very little are doing that. And so it's still best to optimize for Google and running an ad at the top 3. Now, of course, there's actually a con to running Google ads, which we'll talk about later. But the first pro is you're building a brand. If you want to have a brand that's recognizable, you got to be where everyone is. And you're building a brand while doing that, because there isn't as many people on Yelp, Angi, Thumbtack, all these different places. But another pro of working with an agency is you just have higher level of scale. So if you're looking to grow to $100 million, there's not a single roofing company that I know that has ever grown from, $1 million a year to 100 million on Yelp. Just never heard of it personally, because first of all, actually, I don't even want to get into the cons yet, but you have a lot more scale. If you want to get up to 100 million, you have to go on Facebook. You have to go on Google. You have to buy a billboard, run a TV ad, go on YouTube ads, it's technically through Google, but you have to do these other things that you'll reach more people. So actually another pro would just be there's more people on Facebook and Google than there is on Yelp, Angi, Thumbtack, all of them probably combined. But I don't want to put that as another pro yet, because another pro of working with an agency is you have more expertise. I know I just went through 4 pros, but there's 3 main ones. So the last one is just more expertise. So that's kind of our main thing here. Story Media is the marketing subcontractor. When you hire a subcontractor who has a team, you're not paying for everyone's in-house kind of price. So if you hired all of that subcontractor's team in-house, you know how much that would be recurring. And so a subcontractor offers that whole team for not the whole price of that team in-house. Now, of course, you can hire them, W-2, whatever, but you get more expertise because these agencies haven't just been in your construction business. We haven't just been in your roofing business, your remodeling business, your cabinet business. Agencies have been in more businesses and know more about running those ads because they've probably ran ads for your competitors. They have that data. Most agencies have a sheet of every single ad they've ever ran and knows, okay, well, here's all the successful ones. What do they have in common? Most of these agencies may have a proven ad that they just know, as soon as they run it, it'll work. They have a proven outline that they know as soon as you record it and we put it into an ad, it works. So you get the expertise of 5 different people without paying for 5 different people's 40 hours a week, because you don't really need 40 hours a week in your ads. You need the skills to do it. And that's what an agency cuts down for you. And let's actually talk about the cons really quickly. And we'll first start with the agency, because we are an agency, but we want to be as transparent as possible as to maybe why working with an agency may not be for you. So here we go. First, a big con of working with an agency is there's just some agencies out there who are all sales. They're the sales machine that they're great on the promises, 30 jobs in 30 days. They're great on the promises, they're great on the Zoom call, but as soon as you set up the ads, it's all of a sudden this person became just a totally different company. All of a sudden I don't work with this company anymore. And so there's just some agencies out there that'll screw with you. I mean, there's bad contractors, there's good contractors, there's bad agencies, there's good agencies that will grow you. But there is just the fact that there is some bad ones. So you have to know who you're talking to, know if they know what they're talking about, and you just gotta do a little bit of research on these people. You can't take everyone face value. Now, of course, you have to scrape your knees a little bit. We'll be honest, you're just gonna fail once in a while. Most contractors are really scared to work with an agency, but that's the only option. Otherwise, that you learn how to run the ads yourself, you end up scraping your knees, you cutting down that expertise gap that we have on you. And so you either have to figure out how to do it yourself, or you may just lose a little bit of money trying to hire the wrong people. So I wouldn't say it's risky, because if you know what you're talking about, it's not like gambling where it's kind of on the house. If you know who you're looking for, you know what these good agencies sound like, then it's not risky. It's just a decision that you have to make, and you may screw up. So bad agencies, we'll just put that. Bad agencies out there who will take your retainer, maybe run away with it, or will begin running ads that's get a roof for $8,000. We're a lean, mean machine. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Lean, mean machine. That's a whole different video that I'll make on the promises that people come in and how your close rate literally affects that. Because an agency affects your sales very slightly, Because if they come in on the wrong promise, then yeah, they're not going to work with you. But if they come in on the right promise, then it's just kind of your fault. You don't know how to close. But if you know how to close, please hit us up. And if you don't know how to close a single sale, please do not book a call, please. But another con of working with an agency is the fact that you kind of have to do your part. There is a part to your stuff, so there's your part. You have to, depending on the agency, you may have to book the calls, book the appointments with the homeowners. Depending on the agency, of course, because there's some agencies who will actually book the appointments for you, and they may receive a whatever appointment booking, and that's actually where working with an agency who pays per appointment versus an agency that books the appointments for you, it may actually be cheaper to work with the agency that books the appointments for you. But there is your part to it. You still have to show up and sell the job. You still have to show up and convince the homeowner that your price being higher than everyone else's makes sense. Because of course, it's not sales if you just show up and give people a quote. That's not sales. People will just decide on the cheapest quote. I mean, if they don't understand why is yours $5,000 more than everyone else, unless you sit there and kind of like talk with them, see what they are looking for, what they value, then that $5,000 more is just like, what are you doing, bro? So you kind of have your part to it. You still have to sell the job. Depending on the agency, you may still have to book the appointments. You may still have to follow up. But another con of working with an agency is the fact that you have to commit to a retainer. You have to hire this agency or this team of people working in this agency as if they were one of your workers. Like you have to pay them a recurring amount for them to run your ads. You have to pay for that expertise because at the end of the day, like I told you, it may be 4 or 5 people who are working on your account, but you're not paying for 4 or 5 people's 40-hour work weeks. You're paying for like significantly less than that. Of course, depending on how many funnels you have, how many services you offer, how many ads you are we need depending on your budget. So you are, what did I just say was the con? You are having to pay for a retainer to just have them there. And that's actually why a lot of people decide that they want to do the pay-per-lead model. But let me actually explain to you why the pay-per-lead model is not as helpful as people make it sound. But first of all, why does it suck? Because most of these companies, Yelp, Thumbtack, I don't know about all of them. Maybe even sometimes agencies do this, especially if they book the appointment for you. Some agencies send your lead to, well, not the ones that like you're retaining. Of course, there's always the bad apples. But some of these agencies that do the pay-per-lead model and they run ads on Facebook, not branded, which is of course a problem. So that's actually the second con. Your stuff isn't branded and you're not really growing your brand. You're doing nothing. But they actually send your leads to a couple people. I know Yelp does this almost completely, like almost 100% sure that Yelp sends your lead to 3 different people because they want you to compare the quote. But that ends up with a homeowner who has 5 quotes and they're looking for the cheapest person or someone who's actually willing to sell them. Unfortunately, if you just know how to sell, you're going to be significantly better than a lot of people. If you know how to kind of coax people through the process and act as that advisor, you're going to be significantly better off. And so a con is just some of your leads are not exclusive. Some of the leads get sent to 3 different people. Some of them, you may book an appointment with or the homeowner may book an appointment with a contractor and then 5 different people start showing up. And I actually had, true story, I had a cabinet company I was working with, and I still am working with them, but we had a lead that came in, and as soon as the lady was called, she immediately started freaking out over the phone because she's like, no, I don't want 5 different people to show up at my house. I don't want, like she was so freaked out that she thought her lead had gotten sent to 5 different people because this is a real problem. Homeowners are looking for quotes on a bathroom remodel and then 5 contractors show up to their house. Like they book an appointment and like more than one person shows up. And so this one lady, like I said, working with the cabinet company, still are, and a lead came in, and as soon as she was called, she immediately freaked out, thinking it was one of these people. Which I'm not saying, not all of these agencies that do this pay-per-lead or pay-per-appointment model, like not all of them are bad. There's good ones. And we can also offer this to you if you really kind of need it, but not all of them are bad. And another con of actually working with Paper Lead is, like I just said, there's no branding to it. You're growing your brand on Yelp. If you look, like, just think about it. How many people go from Google onto Yelp? Yes, it ranks as one of the highest kind of things when you look up like roofing company. It shows like top 10 roofing companies in wherever they are. But there's not a lot of people who go on Yelp. Like yes, Yelp is still profitable. Yes, Yelp is still very, very visited. But there are significantly more people who just go from Google to the roofing company's website, or Facebook ad to the lead form, or the landing page and fill out the form. And so there's not a lot of branding because you're limited in your reach. And that's actually the last one. Your reach is limited. Reach. And like I said, excuse my handwriting, but you get it. There's limited reach. There's significantly less people on Yelp than there is on just regular Google. And that's actually a con for the agency I didn't talk about. When you're running Google ads, there is a significant amount of people who won't click. Well, not a significant amount of people. There's a percentage of people who will never click on the sponsored links of Google. Like those first 3 that say sponsored, or 4 or 5, depending on the search, they will never click on that. And so that's why working with an agency to optimize your SEO and kind of rank you up there, that's very important as well. But there's just some people who will never click on Google ads, never click on a Facebook ad. There's a lot of people who would never click on an ad, never look at a TV and call the number on there. But there is a lot of people who still click on Facebook ads, still click on Google ads. If you look at how much revenue Facebook ads makes, I mean, I believe it was like 80 or 90% of all Facebook revenue comes from ads, and it's in the billions. There is millions of dollars spent every single day on Facebook. Facebook ads still works. You're just working with the wrong agency. Just want to make that clear. But going back to Paper Lead, the last con is there's just limited reach. There's not as many people on Yelp, HomeAdvisor, Angi, Thumbtack there's not as many people on Yelp as there is on Facebook. Just to put that out there, or Google, and going straight to the roofing company website. And so let's actually talk about which one may be better for you. And so let me actually put together sort of a cost breakdown. So if you're working with an agency who is charging you about $2,000 a month, so we'll say a retainer is about $2,000 a month, and you're spending about $3,000 a month in ad spend, so that's about $100 a day. Now, of course, if you're not running ads on the weekend, you're probably closer to like $2,300 or like $2,500, so $2,500. But we'll just say $3,000 to say nice round number, and you're spending about $100 a day. You're about $5,000 all in for the end of the month, which to a big company, this isn't a lot. So when you're running this, you're probably spending $10,000 a month just on ads, and your retainer is whatever, of course, the agency put. But we'll just use $2,000 as like a flat number. There's agencies charging $5,000. There's agencies who are doing free trials, but it's just up to you to decide which agency is worth the money. And so let's say you're all in about $5,000 a month. I want to say the average lead price, at least for, I want to say the average lead price is between $50 and $70 for roofing. For remodeling, it's about the same, $50 to like $70, all the way up to $100. If you're in those ultra competitive markets like Texas, South Florida, where there's more roofing companies than people, I'm joking, but where there's more roofing companies and remodeling companies and like gutters and masonry than there is people out there, your leads may be $100, maybe $120. If you have a big brand though, your leads may be lower. So if you have a really big brand, like think if Power Home Remodeling ran Facebook ads, their cost per lead is going to be significantly lower because people know who Power Home Remodeling is. If you have a big brand, your cost per lead is going to be lower because people know who you are. My grandma just got the roof replaced by them. Like, let me click because they already trust you. And so if you are kind of this big company, your cost per lead tends to actually go down. And if you scale, your cost per lead tends to go up. And I know that's a little bit confusing, but what I'm trying to say is if you spend like $1,000 a day, because you're reaching a colder and colder audience, your cost per lead may go up because there's just more people who are duds and not actually interested. But let me just cut this down. And so let's say you're all in $5,000 a month at around all the way from down to 50 to like $100 a lead, of course, depending on the season, depending on the area. If you're in like South Florida, Texas, in those ultra competitive markets where people are doing kind of platform illegal things, not like literally illegal, but like breaking the platform rules to like get you to succeed, that's when you know you're in a competitive market. And so at about, I want to say like $100 is like really competitive. But if you're in like a regular Midwestern or like just a regular area that's not that competitive, there's not that many roofing companies. And of course, you may be thinking, oh, there's like a ton of roofing companies. There's probably not that many running ads. And the way Facebook ads and Google ads works is an auction. Who's kind of bidding the highest for a lead and bidding highest for actually views, and then breaking down from that comes a lead. And so let's just simplify this down. Of course, if you're in a super duper competitive market like Texas, South Florida, you will be getting like a lead like in the hundreds possibly, because there's just an auction. Facebook ads and Google ads works on an auction. And so you may be seeing just more, it's just gonna cost you more. Of course, you know how an auction works. Everyone's kind of bidding. And so let's just say total average $65 a lead. And so let's actually do the math on that. If you get a $65 lead on 3,000, which by the way, $3,000 is assuming that the ad runs 24/7 at night, on the weekends. If you're not doing that, then you're not spending $3,000 and you're probably like 2,300. That's what we've seen, like 2,500. You can do the math, but you're not spending $3,000. And so just be aware of that. If you're like, why is my agency spending $3,000 and not making me 50 leads? It's like, hold on, you're not even spending $3,000. But let me actually do the math for you. If you get a $65 lead, you will get 42 appointments. Or not 42 appointments, sorry about that. You'll get 42 leads. I know 42 leads or 42 appointments would be insane, but it's not that far off. If you know how to call people and you actually know how to set these appointments, which by the way, if you work with Story Media, we will give you all the resources that you need. How to set an appointment, even how to sell the job. Here's some of our industry expertise we've gathered from other clients and other people. Here's how to sell the job. We'll give you all of that just for working with us. And so let's say on $65 a lead, you get 42 leads. Now, here's some interesting metrics you may like or not like. Because if you call appointments, that's a really weird six-pack. I'm trying to do a 3. If you call leads within 5 minutes, which is still a stretch for some people, but if you actually have a call team, you're serious about booking appointments, you're serious about doing this, you will hire someone, because I promise you, getting in this really fast, and I'll actually show you. If you call them, the faster you call them, that's all it takes. If you can get on the phone with a lead, that's 90% of leads will book in. 99% of leads will book in if you just get on the phone with them. And so if you call them within 5 minutes, what we've seen is about like a 40 to 50% booking ratio. And so let's say you book 45% of leads, but you call within 5 minutes. Not I'll call them when I get the chance. If you call them 2 hours later, they may not pick up the phone. They may not know who you are. Think if you filled out something right now and you get a call within 20 seconds, the chances of me picking that up or of you picking that up is significantly higher. And so you may get 42% of leads if you call them within 5 minutes. And let me actually fix the way this looks. Now, here's a better metric, because I know you can do the math. What's 45%? I thought that was a 2. What's 45% of 42? I don't know. I'll do the math in just a second. But it's less if you do the math, like how much is that per appointment? It's more than $150 an appointment. But let me kind of guide you through. How about you do it, or how much if you did it and you booked the appointments versus how much we did it. So we'll do you and then us. So if the agency is booking the appointments, here's what you can expect. And if you're booking them, here's the times and here's the data. And so if you actually call them within 3 minutes, call them within 2 minutes, you're going to be seeing about a 70% booking ratio. That's a crazy difference. That's almost 20% higher, 25%, assuming that this rounded up at 50. You're seeing almost a 20 to 25% increase. And if you've got hundreds of leads, if you've got 2,000 leads over the course of a year, booking 25% more leads is literally hundreds more appointments. So just be aware. If you're booking calling them within 3 to 2 minutes, you may be booking 70% of appointments or of leads and turning that into an appointment. And if you know your close ratio, then this number will actually make you drool, because it's a law of numbers. There's a certain amount of homeowners that if you target a mass, there's just a certain average of homeowners that will say yes. So if you know your close ratio, this is perfect for you. And so perfect, I've done the numbers for you. If you book about 45% of leads, you'll get 18.9 appointments. We'll just say 19 appointments, just to give it a nice round number. And if we'll just take off the 4, because 5 flies, 4 dies. So that's kind of the trick I learned. And I know I'm young, so don't worry. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm trying to kind of convey this to you, that if you call leads faster, you will get more appointments. And if you get more appointments and you know where your close rate is, getting 29 homeowners and you show up to all 29 homeowners' houses and they answer the door, I mean, come on, you know what this means. You know what 29 appointments may mean for your business. That may mean 20, 30, 40 grand if you know how to close. And by the way, if you work with Story Media and you will get sales processes, you'll learn how to book appointments. We'll teach you how to do some of these things. And also to mention, if you know how to close, you know how to sell, actually, not referrals, because it's very easy for anyone to close a referral. They know everything about your company. They know how much it's going to cost. They know who to look for, or who in your company to ask for. They know all these things. And it's so easy to close a referral. And so for you contractors out there saying your close rate's 80%, stop. You're including all of those people that were referred to you. If you want to know where your true close rate is, add up all of the appointments you've ever had on Yelp, Thumbtack, Facebook ads, Google, everything but referrals, and divide it by how many sales you've had. And that's your close rate. If you have multiple salespeople, figure out each salesperson's close rate. But you know what 29 appointments may mean for you. And so let's actually do the math. What's 19 divided by 5,000? And what's 29 divided by 5,000? And feel free to do the math yourself. And now, let's say, of course, we divided 19 by 5,000 is about 263 an appointment, and 29 divided by 5,000 is about 172 an appointment, which is fairly close to what an agency may charge you, doing the pay-per-appointment model. But the difference with this is you have significant more scalability. And let's actually talk about it. If an agency books those appointments for you, we know what the best practices are. We know that you triple dial first. That's one of the tricks. And I'll actually make a whole video on how to call leads properly. But one of the tricks is triple dial. So call once, nothing. Call twice, nothing. On the third call, you call consecutively 3 times on the first kind of call time, I guess, if that makes sense. The first interval of calling, which is the initial call. If you call them 3 times, you're gonna get most people on the phone, because if you call 3 times, people think this is some worried person, maybe it's a family member, you never know. And so an agency, realistically, of course, depending on the agency, but if you call properly, you can book 70 to 80% of appointments. And that's where you get below that $150 appointment. Now, when you work with these agencies that charge you per appointment, the difference is that they don't actually go in depth on the branding type side of things. And yes, if you can afford $172 an appointment, or you can afford $263 an appointment, you're golden. If you can afford that, and you can say, all right, this is how much I'm going to pay per appointment. Now it takes me 4 people or 3 people to close a sale, I know I may spend 3, 4, 500 bucks and I've got a sale right there. And so you have to know your numbers. But this is what you can expect. Yes, it's not always cheaper than the agencies. But like I showed you, pros and cons. There's pros and cons to both. And to sum this all up, at the end of the day here, if you spend more than $3,000 a month, so if you spend more than $3,000 a month, then the agency would be better for you simply because it offers more scalability, it gives you more range. But if you only have less than $3,000 a month, maybe you're spending $1,000 a month on marketing. Just to let you know, if you're spending that little, don't expect big results. Literally, if you close one sale, you will make this times 5. So that's why we always recommend spend 10 grand a month. Spend these big numbers, because if you close one sale, you know what your average ticket is. If you roofing, for example, cabinets, even cabinets, we'll use cabinets for example. You can get an $8,000 order on an average kitchen. Decent cabinets, not particle board. Decent cabinets, you can get an $8,000 order. And so that pays for all of your marketing over. And so, listen, if you're willing to spend money, and that's why I'm not trying to say companies doing over $2 million a year work with an agency, because anyone can work with an agency as long as you know how to sell. If you know how to show up and say the right things and give them and make the sale super duper easy for them and make it compelling to them, make them a good offer, you can make sales and you can grow your company, because you don't have to be making $2 million a year to be ambitious. You don't have to make $10 million a year, because I know some people say that. You don't have to make $10 million a year to be hungry. If you're willing to follow what even we may give you or what you may use, and you actually know what your close rate is on cold traffic and you're hungry for it, work with an agency. But if you just want the cheapest thing because you just want to check the marketing box, you want to make sure you're marketing or else you're not doing it right, at that point, if it's just checking a box, please don't work with an agent. Don't work with if you're just trying to check a box and you don't actually want to invest, don't work with an agency, just do pay per lead. And if you're actually willing to grow your company and you're hungry for it, you know how to close a sale, you know how to guide someone through the you know how to ask them the right questions and reference those questions later and make them a good offer and things. If you don't know how to do that and you're just learning, go for pay per lead. If you know how to sell, if you know how to sell and you're willing to take a bet on the right agency, go work with an agency. It will save you time and headache, because at the end of the day, those Yelp salesmen are good. Those Yelp salesmen are good, and they will get you, and you'll start spending 50 bucks a month or $50 a day on Yelp. But the problem is there's always one person who eats up all of the leads as number one. If you want to make good money, you can spend that exact same amount on Facebook, have someone skilled do it, a marketing subcontractor like Story Media, and they will be able to get you significantly more for your money. But you have to be willing to sell. If you know how to sell, go for it. If you don't, then you still have to learn, and that's at that point, get some sales training, work with some pay per lead, and then once you're confident and know your numbers, because by the way, I just want to make this clear, no agency will make you that winning ad. If you're still sticking around, awesome, man. I really appreciate that you're actually paying attention. No agency will give you the winner. When an agency runs your ads, there's not going to be one ad that just kills it. Takes you to $10 million a year. That doesn't happen anymore. That's TV stuff. And nobody watches TV anymore. I know you've probably seen that one ad, the Dollar Shave Club. That Dollar Shave Club ad took them huge. He ran it on TV in a time where everyone was on TV. And it was really engaging, and it was out of the box. And if you're willing to do something like that and have the agency run it, it may last you about a month. and then it has to go again. You have to make a new one. And the thing is, nowadays with the Andromeda update, it kind of requires us to test higher massive ads. Like you just have to post more and more ads. And so that just means that there's not going to be one ad that takes you to the top. There's not going to be one ad that takes you up there. You have to consecutively know your cost per lead, know about what you can pay, know your numbers, and then I promise you, if you know your numbers, then it's just a matter of either I'm working with the wrong agency or I'm not spending enough. Because if you do the numbers and it turns out you can get a job for about $1,000, maybe $500, depending on how good you are, and you can get a job for about $500, make a profit of $5,000, and you're willing to give up that number consecutively, then it's just a matter of why aren't you spending more money? Why aren't you spending more money into the ads so you can get more results? But if it turns out that, hey, we aren't able, like, if you aren't, the leads are coming in on the wrong promise, like those ads where it says, get a roof for $5,000, get a roof for $8,000 plus gutters. There's some people who will even lie and say, this is a senior program made for seniors, get a roof for people on fixed income, like that stuff. That will tank your close rate because they show up thinking that you're someone who's just going to give this person in a wheelchair a new roof. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, there's people who actually do that. And I guess I'm kind of rambling right now. The point is, if you are ambitious and know how to sell, of course, we can help you out. But pay-per-lead just isn't going to be your thing because it's like the little leagues. You're playing in the little leagues. You're just figuring out how to sell. You kind of need a more cost-effective option to learn. Then pay-per-lead makes sense for you. And by the way, we can offer you pay-per-lead. Don't get me wrong. If you're okay with us sending it to 3 other contractors, no, I'm just kidding. But we offer the pay-per-lead model too. If you want to work with pay-per-lead, you don't have to pay the retainer. We just give you like a set amount. We spend the money for you, and you can feel free to book a call. But if you are actually willing to grow, you're actually willing to expand your company, you know how to sell, then it's just a matter of knowing your numbers and scaling from there. That's it.